Back in the late 1800s, this quiet bend of North Florida wilderness was the nerve center of a booming lumber empire, home to the largest sawmill in the state and a mansion built by a man who would later become Florida's governor. Money flowed, whistles screamed, and Ellaville thrived. But the whole operation was built on a flaw so obvious it feels almost comedic in hindsight. Today, Ellaville is a ghost town, slowly reclaimed by the very river that once made it rich. This is the story of Ellaville and its tragic and frankly predictable demise. Our story begins in post-Civil War Florida, a land raw with opportunity and desperation in equal measure. Into that landscape stepped George Franklin Drew, a sharp-eyed businessman from New Hampshire who had already tasted both wealth and ruin. In 1861, along the banks of the Suwannee River, Drew founded a small settlement and named it Ellaville, honoring Ella, a long-serving African-American member of his household. It started quietly, more ambition than town. After the war, Drew partnered with Prussian immigrant Louis Bucky, and together they went all in on timber. A massive steam-powered sawmill rose along the riverbank, perfectly positioned beside vast stands of yellow pine and a natural shipping highway. Logs floated in, lumber floated out. Ellaville found its purpose and its pulse. For a time, Ellaville roared. From the late 1860s through the 1870s, the sawmill grew into the largest in Florida, employing more than 500 workers and supporting a population of nearly 1,000 people. The Florida Railroad ran a main line straight through town with a spur dedicated entirely to hauling lumber. Steamboats docked daily, their whistles echoing through the trees. Ellaville wasn't a backwoods outpost. It was an industrial machine. 2 churches, 2 schools, a Masonic lodge, a company store. Life here moved to the rhythm of steam and saws. At the center of it all stood George Drew, whose wealth earned him the nickname Millionaire Drew. In 1868, he built a mansion worthy of the title, a grand 10-room home designed by his brothers, complete with imported mahogany, parquet floors, marble mantels, and formal gardens that felt wildly extravagant for frontier Florida. His influence carried him all the way to the governor's office in 1876, where he helped guide Florida through the chaotic end of Reconstruction. For a brief, shining moment, Ellaville and its founder seemed unstoppable. Ellaville's rise is a perfect snapshot of Florida's industrial past. Bold, profitable, and quietly reckless. If you're enjoying this dive into forgotten places and the stories that built them, consider subscribing. We explore lost towns, strange histories, and the moments where ambition meets consequence. Now, let's talk about what happens when the bill comes due. The first cracks didn't come from nature. They came from success. For nearly 40 years, Ellaville devoured timber without restraint. And eventually, the forests ran out. The yellow pine that once seemed endless was gone. Then, in 1898, the sawmill, the heart of the town, burned to the ground. It was rebuilt, but the magic was gone. Inferior timber meant shrinking profits. By 1900, the mill shut down permanently. Drew had already sold his interests and moved to Jacksonville, where he died later that year. With the town weakened, the river reclaimed its role. Floods in the early 1900s battered Ellaville repeatedly. One sent 6 feet of water into the Drew mansion itself, forcing its final occupants to flee. But the knockout blow came in August 1928 when relentless storms caused the Suwannee and Withlacoochee rivers to converge at catastrophic levels. Ellaville disappeared beneath the water. Train platforms submerged, cars perched on blocks, boats replaced streets. The disaster struck just weeks before the Great Okeechobee Hurricane, leaving Ellaville's destruction largely overshadowed. But for the people here, it was the end. After 1928, Ellaville never recovered. With no mill, no dry land, and no future, residents slowly abandoned the town. The Great Depression erased any remaining hope of revival. World War II pulled the last working-age residents away. In 1942, the post office closed, Ellaville's official death certificate. The Drew Mansion lingered as a hollow shell for decades, stripped by vandals and left to rot until it finally burned in the 1970s, likely due to arson. In 1986, Highway 90 was rerouted across a new bridge, bypassing Ellaville entirely and abandoning the old Hillman Bridge. Ellaville was no longer forgotten. It was avoided. Today, Ellaville is quiet in a way that feels earned. Hiking trails trace former streets. The stone foundation of the Drew Mansion still lingers near a picnic area, barely visible when the seasons are kind. The Hillman Bridge rusts in silence over dark water, a favorite subject for photographers and ghost town wanderers like me. Nearby, the ruins of the old Suwannee River store crumble into the forest. A small cemetery hides among the trees. And at Suwannee River State Park, a massive flywheel from the sawmill stands on display, the last solid remnant of an industry that once ruled the river. On this visit, caught between hurricanes, we chose not to venture into the woods. Fallen trees blocked old paths, and sometimes survival instincts beat curiosity. Ellaville isn't going anywhere. It's patient, and we'll be back. From Governor's Mansion to waterlogged ruin, Ellaville is a cautionary tale soaked in river water and hubris. It reminds us that fortunes built on a single resource and in the path of a flood-happy river rarely end quietly. What do you think is the most tragically ironic part of Ellaville's story? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more journeys into America's forgotten places like the video, subscribe and travel these lost roads with us. Murph would approve.